Hello everyone, welcome to next Selenium tutorial. So today we are going to talk about the locators, the next locators, that is called class. So we have already seen the locators ID, how to use and how we should not use this ID locators, and the same way we have seen for a locators name as well, right? So the next one will be like we have to use class as well. So how we can use that uh, class attribute from the any web element and how it will be used in your Selenium WebDriver. So today we are going to talk about the locators class name, right? So I have already talked about this particular uh, locator called name, isn't it? So I have used this particular web page orange hrm, right? Let's copy the same code to save time, right? So I have used Chrome driver. So the Chrome driver browser I have initiated with and assigned it to WebDriver, and we have 10 seconds of implicit wait, and I have launched using get method the website. And here comes the locators, the name which is for this username and password. So let's see what are the attributes it has. So this username has three attributes in it. One is name, ID, and type, right? So based on name we are going to locate this particular username input tag, and for password we'll have this same it has a name, ID, and autocomplete off and type. It has four different attributes, this particular web element, right? So this also doesn't contain your class name, so we cannot locate this particular web element using class name, isn't it? So let's see what will happen to this login button. Let's see if this contains the class name. And yeah, this has a class name button. Actually, when you are hover, it's showing button hover, or it's not. Actually, it is showing class as button. So let's try to use this class name attribute. What happens to this, right? So Selenium provides 8 different locating strategy, right? So we have discussed in the previous videos. So ID, name, class name, link text, partial link text, tag name, css selector, and xpath, right? So so in that we have already seen two the different attributes in my previous videos, and today we are going to talk about class name. So how we can use that, right? So here, so for that, right, Selenium provides by class to for the locators, and by class provides all these 8 different locating strategies. So each locating strategy by class will provide one class method, right? So in that we have to use class name as locating strategy. So we have already seen ID and name, both we have already seen. So today let's talk about class name, so how we can use it. So Selenium WebDriver, right? It provides find element method to find any element in the web browser. So here web browser means your Chrome driver that assigned to your driver. So this represents your browser, which means Chrome browser. So in this browser, how we have to find one particular element, say this username or password, right? So for the Selenium provides find element method. It's find the first element of the locator which you have given, just a first occurrence, and it will return as a web element, right? So this find element accepts uh, web element as, right? Let's see, right? So this accepts by class, and it this find element returns web element. So this is the definition actually. So this returns web element, and it accepts by class. If you see the definition, find the first web element using the given method. So the given method means the locators they are talking about, whether it's a name or class name id or any some other locators. That's a given method. This method is affected by the implicit wait times in forced at the time of execution, right? That implicit wait, right? So how long it has to wait before moving to next element, right? So I have covered what is implicit wait in a separate video already. So if you want to get some idea, you can just watch out that video. So today let's take this find element by class name. So you have to use, just be carefully watch it, by dot class name we have to give. It's not a class, how it appears in your attribute. So here it will always appears as a class, and Selenium giving the method as class name. So that's the difference actually. You have to watch out actually for when you are using class name. The method name is class name, not class, just a class like how other attributes having like name or id, right? So those are having like how it appears in your HTML document. So in HTML document for id it will be like id itself. Here in Selenium provides id as a method and name here as attribute. Selenium provides name as a method, but for class here the attribute name is class but the method is class name, right? So we have to use class name over here. Let's copy what is that class name. It's a button, right? Let's give that. So what you wanted to do on this particular web element, what is the action that user going to perform on this? So user going to perform on click operation, right? So that is what they are going to do, isn't it? So let's wait for some 5-6 seconds. So clearly we can see what happens when clicking on this particular button, isn't it? So this is how we have to use your class name locator. So this is the locator. So this is a method to find this particular locator, and this will return a web element, and on this particular web element user has to perform some action, that is either send keys, or you wanted to click on something, or you want to do select a web element like that. It's based on the element what you are working with. So here we are working with button, so we have to do click on that, isn't it? Right guys, let's try running this, how it happens. It's very simple to use this class name. It's a direct way. It finds a single element. On the other way, we can say this ID, name, class name. These are like single element, single locator, single element locators. You can see, right? It is actually clicked on that particular web element using the class name, and it navigated to your home page of this particular orange HRM page, right? So this is how you have to actually use your different locators like name or class name like that. So here we have used two different locators. So the one is name, another one is class name. So these are like kind of based on the elements attribute name and value, right? That's how you have to use it. So the definition what it says, you can see, find elements based on the value of the class attribute. You just note it down. So the value of the class attribute, what's the value present for the class attribute of the element which you want to work with. Only one class name should be used. If an element has multiple classes, please use CSS selector, right? So if this particular element has multiple attribute called class, then we cannot use directly this single selecting locators. So in that case, it is recommended to use CSS selector or export, or you can go for other single element locators like ID or name or tag name like that, right? So it is very clear, right? And finally something we have to note down, like how other attributes we have used, right? So same, some, this is kind of a prerequisite, we can say, right? Prerequisite, we can say, when we have to use your class name attribute, or the locator, isn't it? So element with class name attribute must present in the HTML document, right? So which is I already explained, like this particular web element, right, should have the class as an attribute and its value. Say if this particular web element doesn't have the class as attribute, so in that case we cannot use this element against this class name attribute to find, right? So that leads to no such element exception, right? So that's a different concept, right? So if if particular element doesn't have, or then we cannot go for this class name attribute. So we have to choose for that. That's what this class name attribute, right? If doesn't have, you don't go for that when you choose class name. And if class name attributes value must be unique, so like it's suggested, right? So class name, if the tag has multiple class attributes or multiple elements has the same class name, then we cannot use this. If you want to use against the first element, which appears in the HTML document, then we can use it. But if you want to choose second element or third element in the HTML document, then we cannot go for it, right? That's how it works. It returns the first web element. You must understand the first web element which Selenium WebDriver finds in the HTML document, that it returns. And the class name attribute, right? So it should be consistently predictable, which means if the class attribute name now it is the value is button, tomorrow it says login when you are loading again, or if you are refreshing, or it says like 123 login or login 123. If it changes every time, if you are refreshing or if you are loading, kind of dynamically it is changing the value every time, then we cannot use this particular single selector element like class name, right? That is what page refresh or loading every time has different dynamically generated value, then we cannot use it. And if it is not unique also, we cannot use it. So these are the different prerequisites when you are going for class name locators. You should keep it in mind, right? So this is not only for your class name, either for your name locator or id locator, or your other locators as well, like text, link text or partial link text, like that, right? So these are kind of a prerequisite that comes, right? So that's all from this video, guys. So we have already seen three different locators, so we'll keep posting other locators as well for Selenium WebDriver, how we can use against each web element, right? So keep watching the videos. We'll be talking about all Selenium related and other testers, the tools, right? So that's all from this video, guys. If you learned something from this video, please like my video and share it with your friends. And if you have not subscribed to my channel, please subscribe to my channel.